Excellent. Welcome everyone to the September 30th, 2024 meeting of the Carver School Committee. If everyone could please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let me see. Do we have someone from the, Tom is
Tom
here.
should be
Tom
here.
Pinto is here from the EAPC. Hello, Tom.
Hi, Dom.
Welcome.
Tom, you should be able to turn your video on now. There we go.
And we can't hear him.
Evening, everyone.
There we go.
There we go. Good evening.
How are you? We said have some great weather this month. I can't believe tomorrow's October. As you see on the agenda, you will see my letters of negotiations. I don't see us starting probably until after the new year. Also per contract, we need to get some time and dates to meet as a workload committee. So that's all I have tonight. Have a great day.
Okay, great.
Thanks, Dom.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Tom. Take care. Echo. Will we have captains?
We were supposed to have Captain's Council here this evening. I do not see members of the Captain's Council, so I guess we can move forward.
Okay.
And if they come in, we'll
Yep.
have them come on up.
We can go back, no problem. Okay, so that brings us to public comment. So if there's anyone in the room that would like to speak, you're more than welcome to approach the microphone. I think everyone that's in the room is honestly on the docket to speak, maybe except for Mrs. Cabral. And if there's anyone that is on Zoom that would like to speak, if you could please type your name in the chat to be recognized. I know we have one person. I don't see any writing in the chat, so then we shall move on. Technology. Okay, so that brings us to the approval of minutes from the September 9th, 2024 open session.
I move that we approve the September 9th, 2024 open session minutes.
I second. Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Gina, for typing those for us. And then that brings us to communications.
Okay, so there are two communications. First, as Tom mentioned, we have received a formal request from the EAPC to begin negotiations. So we'll be starting that process. Tom mentioned that maybe they were thinking after January. We'll see. So we'll be in communication. We'll get some dates together, and we'll send a letter off to the APC with some suggested dates for our first day of negotiations with the teachers and the ESPs.
Great, thank you.
And then our second communication is something that we're excited about. So we have been notified by DESE that we again have been awarded an Innovations Career Pathways Implementation Support Grant. So this letter is a little more generic than they usually are. So this one is generally to support all of our innovation pathways. So the money could be used to support our clean energy innovation pathway. It could be used to support our environmental and agricultural sciences pathway. And it could also be used to support MET, our manufacturing, engineering, and technology pathway. And I believe the sum is $35,000. So
Excellent.
we received that notification officially last week. So we're excited about that.
Absolutely, that's wonderful, wonderful news. Okay, so that brings us right into reports from the superintendent and personnel updates.
Yeah, so we've had a little bit of movement since our last meeting. We have new hires, Chris Sampson as a teacher in special education at our ACE GAP program at the middle high school. This is a one-year position. We also hired Dr. Suzanne Hines as the interim special ed director. So excited to have her on board. She'll be covering Melissa Leary's leave of absence. And Abigail Dolan as a bus monitor. And since we last met, we have not had any resignations or resignations. So just filling our open positions.
That is
So
great.
we don't have many open positions left. We have one. We have a couple positions out there. We have a long-term sub and also fifth grade inclusion. We're still in the process of hiring. Those are our current open positions.
Thank you for the update. That brings us right to fall athletics.
Yep, so we're excited to have our athletic director, Kelsey Kincaid, here to give a bit of an overview on our fall athletics programs. So Kelsey, so we pull the presentation up. And thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. So as you mentioned, Ms. Kincaid, for those of you who don't know me, the new athletic director here. And I just want to give you guys a little bit of a fall athletics update, what's going on, where we are. We're about halfway through the fall season right now, which is crazy, and getting ready to open winter registration in the next couple weeks. So just for our teams and how they're doing as of today, this is based off of Friday. So we had 183 fall athletes that have registered and are competing this fall for Carver Athletics. Our football team, their record is 3-0, volleyball 9-0, field hockey 0-7-2. They just tied about an hour ago. Golf 6-2, girls soccer 2-7-1, boys soccer 2-6, and cross country 1-2. The MIAA Power Rankings first time came out on Friday. So these are the releasings that will happen every week going forward to determine who will compete in the state tournament. So football was ranked 7th, volleyball ranked 8th, field hockey ranked 37th, girls soccer ranked 32nd, and boys soccer is ranked 63rd.
And in football, it's the top 16, and everything else is the top 32.
32, unless you also have a record of over or above 500.
Yep. So more than 32 teams can make the tournament.
Yes. Just some noted highlights that have taken place this fall. Football players Nolan Keneally and Jack Balzerini were the Chick-fil-A Patriot Ledger Athletes of the Week the first week. Keneally was for the Defensive Special Teams Player of the Week, and Balzerini was for Offensive Player of the Week. Senior volleyball player Julia Grimes, 2 weeks ago, got her 100 aces, 100 digs, and 100 kills. Kyle Hoffman, a golfer, he reached 1,000 Stableford points, which is the scoring system they use in golf. And then middle schooler Nathaniel Tyler for cross country set a Carver Middle School 5K record by 25 seconds with a time of 19:03.
Job. Excellent.
Yep. Those are some impressive accomplishments.
Absolutely.
And then just one thing I wanted to share, the athletic department has started this year, is our Athletes of the Week. We're recognizing female and male every week. So far, we've had the list up there, and we're picking our ones. We post it every Wednesday on social media. It's on the athletics website. We put it around the school, and this is just an example of kind of what it looks like, their highlights, whether it's academically, athletically, groups they're involved with. It's just an opportunity to highlight some of the great accomplishments they've had that week or something in particular.
Yeah, it's great.
And then lastly is just our unified soccer. They have gotten started. They had their first game today at Hanover, and then they have 2 games coming up that'll be taking place at Carver High School against our varsity teams. So on tomorrow at 2:15, and then on Thursday, October 10th. So if anyone's able to come out for those. And we are just gearing up for our senior games starting next week for everyone else. That's all I got.
Excellent. Thank you.
Any questions for Kelsey? Kelsey, thank you very much.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for getting this year off to a great start in terms of celebrating our athletes. We appreciate it.
Yes, of course. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so that brings us to the Youth Risk Behavior Survey.
So last spring, our students in grades 6 through 12 participated in a modified version of the Youth Risk Behavior Survey. The survey and data analysis is paid through the Drug-Free Community Grant, and we're excited to have Megan Quirk and Kawisha from High Point Treatment Center here, who are going to review our survey results and talk a little about the survey and the survey process. So thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
And
Yes,
I
welcome.
kept saying Kiosha, so sorry about that, Kiosha.
It's Kyosha, yes. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry about that. Which
so-
I know, and I don't know why it came out that way multiple times. So I apologize.
It's all right.
Kiosha.
So our modified YRBS survey measures the past 30-day use, as well as the perception of risk of substances.
Just give me 1 second. Sometimes just a little behind on the technology piece of it. So everybody can see it at home as well. All right.
You can go down to the first slide.
Yeah.
So in total, we surveyed 550 students, grades 6 through 12. One of the points that I want to point out on this slide is the 12th grade. We were only able to survey 1 students. So we're hoping to survey again around January to February timeline at a time that is accessible for a majority of the students to be there. You can go to the next slide. So this slide measures the middle school past 30-day use, just grades 6 through 8. So one of the things to point out is vaping. As you see, it starts off 6th grade reported 0% use, 7th grade 2%, and then if you look at the 8th grade, it hikes up all the way to 5%. So one of the trends is basically as the grades go up, you see an increase in substance use. Another point to point out is prescription drugs. Those numbers are not accurate just because the way that the youth interpreted it could be like medication. So kind of just reiterating that whoever administers the survey that it is prescription drug use. Next slide.
But obviously, do you mind if I just make a comment here? Obviously, I'm happy to see that, at least in the reported 30-day use for cigarettes, vaping, marijuana, that it was 0% for our 6th graders. Obviously, any use is concerning, but these are pretty low numbers for our middle school students.
Definitely. And now looking at the high school 30-day use. So we see here, again, as the grades go up, 12th is in the red, 9th is in the blue. As the grades go up, you see an increase across the board in most substances except for alcohol. 11th grade reported 8% use of alcohol. But what's alarming is the marijuana use among the 12th grade. It reports at 23% with only 31 students were surveyed in that grade. So again, just, trying to educate them on the harms associated with that and the brain development, which Meg Quirk and I are working really hard at as well.
But I would also say I don't find these numbers surprising from the standpoint of it's increasing as you move towards adulthood. And obviously we don't want our 18-year-olds vaping or using marijuana either. But the reality is, if you look at society as a whole, I think there's been an increase in vaping and marijuana use just since the decriminalization of marijuana. And again, not saying, and we'll see that reinforced through some of the other survey data about people's thoughts about usage of those substances.
And then when we look at middle school perception of risk, these numbers are really good to see because that measures the risk if they feel that they're at risk of using substances. So overall, like the average number was 67%, which is really good to see. So that's a positive takeaway. And then same thing for high school perception of risk. Which the numbers are still good, but the only one that we tend to look at is the marijuana. As the grades go up, the numbers do decrease. And I think again, as Scott mentioned, with the legalization of marijuana could be the reason why that those numbers are decreasing.
And the other reality is we have to remember that, as Kiyosha pointed out in the beginning, we only had 31 seniors participate out of a class of about 90, so we only had about a third take the survey. So we'll have to, when we survey again, we'll have to do a better job making sure we get a larger turnout of those students. But bottom line is 38% of those 31 kids said they don't perceive the use of marijuana as being dangerous.
It's interesting because alcohol is also legal, but the numbers are still up there, whereas marijuana is legal and the numbers are lower. That's interesting.
Well, we're gonna get a little into that as we go.
Okay.
So this is middle school students, grades 6 through 8, with parental disapproval. Asking, if whether or not that they think that their parents would disapprove of substances, which the numbers are pretty high, so that is good to see. on average 85% across all grades.
Yeah, you're never going to get 100%. You may want to get 100%, but the reality is you're not going to be 100%. So being at 97, 96 is pretty good.
It's like that old commercial. I learned it from watching you, okay?
Yeah,
Dad?
yeah. Yeah, certainly that's something we have to factor in here
Yeah.
when you're looking at that. There is a reality that some kids are seeing their parents use these substances.
Yeah.
So,
Next slide.
Absolutely.
So same thing here, but this is high school, 9 through 12. All pretty much in like the 80% range, except for when you look at marijuana, the 10th grade and 12th grade. And the reason for that, I think, is the parents could be, recreationally using, or maybe they're using it for a health condition, something of that sort. So again, I keep saying Meg and I are working hard to educate the community and let the parents know, although you may use marijuana legally, it's important for the youth not to use because of the brain development. So Meg has done a lock bag initiative, trying to, with the dispensary in collaboration with them, for parents to lock up their marijuana products to keep it away from the youth.
years ago, when we first started Carver Cares, it had a different name. It was called Mobilizing the Community in 2012 or 2013. And it was in a partnership with SAD, and their old language used to be around the concept of parental disapproval is the #1 reason why students do not participate in any substance abuse, alcohol, cigarettes. Vaping wasn't a thing at that time, marijuana. And they used to always press that idea of the importance of parental disapproval. So I think that we see that here in some of the survey data.
And then this is middle school peer disapproval, so asking the youth, do you think your peers would approve or not of you using disapprove of you using substances? So 81% of students, for the majority, all responded, that they would disapprove, which is also good numbers to see as well. And then high school, you'll see that these numbers
we see a theme.
fluctuate. Obviously, reason being, as the grades increase, the peers' disapproval decreases. That could be because of peer pressure situations. Maybe they're just wanting to try to fit in. They're experiencing a lot more in life. So those numbers are not alarming, even though they may look that way. We're seeing that through all the towns that we do work with in the Plymouth Area Collaborative. And then these are just you can go down. These are just the standard questions that were asked. So if you look at the first one, in the last 30 days, how much pressure have you felt from your friends, peers to use substances such as alcohol, marijuana, vaping, cigarettes, or other illegal drugs? Across the board, majority of them reported no pressure at all. But as you look at, as the grades get higher, 10th, 11th, and 12th, they're reporting a little bit of pressure. And again, that could be the peer pressure, trying to fit in, different things like that. So.
But I thought the responses to this question were very encouraging. To saying
Yeah,
that
that's
they're
amazing
not.
numbers.
Yeah, I think those are great numbers in terms of students saying that they felt no pressure at all from any of their peers to use any of these substances.
Absolutely. And then same thing here. If they felt that peer pressure was put on them by their friends or peers to use same substances, across the board, 90% or higher, 91% or higher of no pressure, which is very good. A little pressure, but the numbers are still very low, so that's something that we like to see continue. And then this is the last standard question that we had on there. Same thing, measuring, the pressure that they feel that they put on themselves. So these were all, again, above in the 90% range. The lowest we have up there is 88% of no pressure, which is really good. The only one is, it's still low, 11th grade is 8% experience a little pressure. And again, that could be, you know, maybe they're hanging with new friends, but it's still very good numbers to see. So that is the end of that, but we are looking to implement this survey again. You can always, if anyone has any feedback that they'd like to give in terms of adding additional questions, those are things that we can do. In terms of funding objectives, why we administer this survey, DFC's objectives are to decrease marijuana use, decrease parental perception, and decrease perception of risk amongst the prescription drugs, which honestly, I think that's pretty much completed, just because the way that they interpreted the question was, you know, maybe medication that's prescribed to them.
And the interesting part of that, if we went back and looked at the data, the seniors were, I think their percentages were very low on that because they understood the question.
Right.
They were like, no, we're not abusing prescription, prescription drugs, where the middle schoolers were more like, oh, I take this. So.
I took some amoxicillin last week.
Right.
Exactly. That's-
And then on our grant that we work with Meg on, Mass Call 3, our goals are to reduce parental permissiveness, increase social emotional learning, and reduce substance use among youth. So they all kind of align and intersect with one another. So we are still, you know, implementing different initiatives and things like that. So that although we do see a great report in the surveys, just to kind of try and get better numbers. So if anyone has any questions,
Do you want to promote the next Carver
comments.
Cares meeting?
What is it?
You want to promote the next Carver Cares meeting?
It is, oh no, October.
October 20.
7th.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow,
At
already.
3. Yep. And I have actually on my, on the Carver Schools website, the Carver Cares has a page. The coalition has a page that we are, you know, staying up to date with. There's SMORE newsletter that I do monthly is up there as well. It has dates for the rest of this year's Carver Cares Coalition meetings, our contact information, and resources information for parents, caregivers, guardians, and community members. I do send it out through School Connect to all families when it's updated, so once a month. So October will be coming out very soon. And yeah, so if anybody's looking for information, they can find a lot more there as well. So yeah, really excited.
Great, thank you.
Any questions?
Thank you so much.
I guess I have one question.
Sorry.
What time, I don't remember if you mentioned it, and I apologize. What time of year was the survey given?
It was on Valentine's Day. Sorry, I just,
You remember that specifically?
I'm like, oh, Valentine's Day. So
Yeah.
yeah, we're shooting. for
And
the
how
same-
is the survey administered?
So during wind block, the students were on day 1. So during that day 1, so we knew, you know, that was a really good day. So we're going to work on doing
Meaning
that
they were in their
again.
advisory where
Yeah,
they
yeah,
pick
yeah.
the rest of their wins for
Yep.
the week.
So they watched a video, a fun video that High Point put together. We helped with that, just about how to take the survey and, you know, the importance of being honest with the survey questions, but also, you know, reassuring that this is a completely confidential survey. There's no way for us, I don't get the data on this. And I will share this with everyone. I have a summary analysis, but I don't have the specific data. We
Okay.
contract with Kelly Research Associates. So everything goes through them. So there is nothing identifiable for the students to feel that they can't be honest on the surveys. Once it goes through, you know, they do the analysis for us and send us this wonderful summary, excuse me. So the hope is for next year, we lean into learning why maybe we missed the seniors and pivot and do something a little different so that we can encourage more senior participation to help us have a better picture of Carver, but it was really positive to see. I was very happy to see. And I have to say, I have during WIN block, I have Caring Crusaders meetings. It's I'm really happy that I get to spend time with the youth during that block of time. So I have pretty good numbers. I see quite a few students a couple of times a week, and the feedback and the way that they're talking is very much aligned with what we're seeing here. Is very positive, and it's keeping that momentum. And the majority of the students that I do see are middle school. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Oh,
So I
that's
just wanted to
great.
share that. And if anyone would like a copy of the summary, I do have that and a copy of the presentation so that you can keep it if you'd like it. So I'll leave them here.
Okay, that would be
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you very
All right.
much.
Commissioner Meg, thank you very much.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
being
Thank
here.
you so much.
Thank you, thank you.
I'm excited to see the comparison between this year, like as the
Yeah.
grade goes up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Absolutely. Okay, so that brings us to upcoming events,
Already?
which is crazy to think that we're looking at October and November.
Yeah,
If I
September has
just-
gone by quickly.
Just, yeah, blink of an eye.
Yep.
Looks like lots of great stuff. Oh, it's at the Carver, okay, so Carver Cares meeting is at the police station.
Yeah. So just take a second to pull this up. Again, I won't go through everything here, but a few things that we're excited about. Obviously, this week is the grade 6 trip to Camp Burgess, so they'll be leaving tomorrow and returning on Friday, so we're excited about that. We have our first DEI meeting tomorrow evening at 6 o'clock at Central Office. Booster-thon will also be starting on Wednesday, so that will be doing the kickoff for that. And then the fun runs for pre-K is on the 10th, and for the rest of the elementary school on the 11th. We have a whole bunch of field trips coming up. Homecoming football game is still in limbo. We have not made an official decision to move it to Saturday. That's why it's listed here as the 18th and the 19th. You know, most likely it's going to get moved to Saturday. You know, it's getting dark too early to play it on Friday afternoon. But we're trying to hold out hope that the Triple E situation will change and that the game will not have to be moved to Saturday. I'm not sure what time we'll do Saturday, so more information will come on that if the game
Okay.
needs to be moved to Saturday.
Great.
But the dance is Saturday night at 6 o'clock. We'll probably make that decision, I would think, the week before,
Okay.
to give people a week's notice and hold out to see if anything changes in Triple E for the homecoming football game.
I know, and parent-teacher
Although, yeah,
conference
parent-teacher
signups
conferences are coming
are
up at the
this
middle high
week.
school on the 24th.
Eek. I don't know where it's going.
And at the elementary school, we have nothing. We only have October on here to take because there's so much stuff happening in October. Is just November down a little farther?
Yeah, you're just gonna scroll
further,
down.
yeah.
So Gia does
they
have
are.
all November on here
Although I don't know why it's, there we go.
because then
October 25th, did you write that down?
the elementary school has their parent conferences on the 7th. So November 7th,
Tia.
November 7th for the elementary school, October 24th for the middle high school.
Tell me
pick-
what's our theme?
Exactly, gotta pick a theme.
Yep. Yep, so as always, there's tons of things going on, all kinds of exciting events for our students. We obviously encourage members of the community to always check the calendar and the website and to come out and join us at all these events that are happening across the district.
Absolutely, it's great to see so many great things happening. I just wish time would slow down just a little bit. But it's all good things, all good things. Okay, so that brings us right into recommendations from the superintendent and a financial update from Ron.
All right.
Hi, folks. Not a whole lot here. I think this time of year, typically we do our entitlement grants. That's through ESSA, Every Student Succeeds Act. The large majority of those are federal grants coming through, sort of pass-through money from Congress, ultimately through DESE and then to us. You've got a handful of entitlement grants that we get every year. The first is your early childhood. That ultimately offsets one of your ESP FTEs at your preschool program. You've got a better part of $500,000 and some change with IDEA. That offsets exclusively special education out of district tuitions. Your Title I, about $208,000 there, offsets costs to support low-income students. The majority of that is ESPs and some supplies as well, supplies and materials as well. Title IIA, it's teacher quality grant, a little over $30,000. Those funds are used, dedicated for special professional development for teachers, excuse me. And then you've got about $15,000 in Title IV. That's split between your NWEA assessment program and then your Project Lead the Way over at the middle high school. Those are your federal grants, the better part $800,000 appropriated this year to the school department. And then you've got one state appropriation, in addition to what Mr. Neef had mentioned, about $72,000 through the Department of Energy Resources. That's their Green Communities Division. A big thank you to the Operations Director, Mr. Siedentoff, as well as our Town Planner, Mr. Bott. Those funds will continue to support an ongoing project to replace light fixtures at the middle high school. They're essentially taking down those old incandescent bulbs, replacing them with a high low energy, high efficiency LED lights across the campus. We expect that project to be finished up in the next year and a half or so. And they're just, as there's time where we can pull out lights and it's not going to disrupt kiddos, they do that throughout the year. The only other thing I've got for you are your typical warrants. We're closing out the first quarter. You've got 2 payroll and an expense warrant down to the penny. My request of the committee tonight would be to vote to approve acceptance of the grant awards and vote to approve the operational warrants.
Okay. Any discussion now? I move to approve the warrants and grants as presented tonight.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Very grateful to see all those funds coming into our district so our students can continue to do great things. So that brings us right to the superintendent's goals.
Okay, so as superintendent, each year I have to identify 3 goals: a professional practice goal, a district improvement goal, and a student learning goal. And this year I am in my second year of a 2-year professional development plan, so I'll have a full evaluation this year at the end of the year, which historically we've done in April prior to the town election. So that would be, I think that would be the goal, is that we would go through a process to do my full evaluation in April, and we'll talk more about that as we move forward. And I know there's the evaluation subcommittee who will be doing some of that work as well. But as part of that yearly process, the school committee has to approve or review each of my goals. So first, professional practice goal. In order to improve my leadership skills, I'm looking to participate in a course called The Soul of Leadership, sponsored by the Mass Secondary Association, Secondary Administrative Association. As measured by participation in 3 in-person full days of training and 5 virtual 1-hour training days. The program provides educational leaders with tools and skills to build relational trust and lead learning communities where teachers thrive, collaborate, and challenge each other to do their best work, and where students feel seen, heard, inspired, and free to be joyful, successful learners. So I was looking for something, and this came across this summer as an opportunity, and we've already, actually Christine joined the course as well, so Christine and I are both doing it together, and we've already had our first full day. We also had our first virtual 1-hour session last week. And both of us are already taking some of the things from the course and incorporating it into meetings and just a lot of ideas about, your working relationships with the staff. And certainly, I think Christine has outstanding relationships with the staff. I hope I do as well. But any professional development that we can both get or that I can get, because these are about my goals, not Christine's, ultimately any professional development that I can get in terms of being a better educational leader for the District of Carver, I think is really important, and hopefully you would support this as my professional practice goal to help me improve my leadership skills. I don't know if you want to do them one at a time. At the end, you have to vote to all 3, so it's okay if I go through all 3?
Absolutely.
Yeah, all right. Second, district improvement goal. In order to ensure the key vision and strategic goals of the education blueprint are aligned with the needs of the district and the community, I will go through a process to evaluate and, if appropriate, revise the document. Ultimately, we haven't had a major revision of the educational blueprint in terms of those core strategic goals in a while. And I'd like to go through a process that involves interviewing and speaking with teachers and staff and school committee members and parents and community members to get their feedback on, hey, we have these 4 kind of key objectives. Does this match what people are looking for from the school district? And then take that feedback and go through a process to revise the document as appropriate. I don't know exactly what that feedback's going to bring, but I think it's time to do that. That document was originally designed in my 2nd year as superintendent, so it's going to be 7 or 8 years old now. I went through this process one other time, and at the time, the decision was to maintain the 4 key objectives. So those 4 key objectives have been there since going on 8 years now. So I think there might be a pivot, there might be a change in some of those things. So I think my thought process was it makes sense for me to do that work this year. And so I think it makes sense for it to be one of my goals. And obviously it's a district improvement goal because we're going to say, we're looking at the vision of where we're going as a school district. It would make sense to use that and revise the document.
Okay.
Third one, student learning goal. At our next meeting, we'll be presenting, so MCAS scores were released this past week. Student reports have not been sent to the district yet, so we don't have the student reports in our possession yet. But we should shortly, so within the next week or 2, student score reports should be going home to families. And, we're going to say the results are a little mixed. So we're going to say we still want to see those results improved. And at our next meeting, we'll be spending some time looking at those results and then also looking at the district's accountability data based on those results. So those will be 2 of the presentations at our next meeting will be MCAS data and accountability data. But obviously I've seen that data, so I still think it's important to maintain a student learning goal around the MCAS. So in order to improve the number of students meeting expectations on the MCAS by an average of 5 to 10% across all grade levels and subjects, we will continue to evaluate curriculum alignment, instructional practices, student attendance. As an early peak, student attendance is actually much improved.
Yep.
So we'll talk about that a little bit when we look at the data next week, next meeting. And students' attitudes and efforts on the tests as measured by the spring of 2025 MCAS scores. In October, we'll establish teams of teachers to review and evaluate our data. We're starting that process. And the administrators will continue to focus on improving student attendance and reduce the number of students who are chronically absent. We're going to support the 2nd year of implementation of illustrative math program at the middle high school. So that's going to be, middle school math was a little bit of a concern, our scores, and I think that has to be a focus area for improvement for us.
Yep.
Support the implementation of units of study writing at the elementary school, because we're in that process of putting that in. And provide professional development for teachers on continuing to shift to student-centered learning. I know I didn't necessarily mention the key actions for the other goals, but I felt for the MCAS one it was important. So that's what I put forward to the committee to propose as my 3 goals. And I'll take any feedback that the committee has or questions.
Does anyone have any questions? Nope. I appreciate the context and the reasoning behind each one of the goals that you've set. I can speak for myself with all the professional development that I've done over almost the last 3 years now. It's definitely made me, stronger in, my beliefs and, advocating and trying to encourage and lead others to get more involved and to find their passion and to find areas that they're passionate about. So I think the Soul of Leadership sounds amazing. I would love it if you and maybe Mrs. Cabral could report back at some point. Just let us know how that's going.
Well, I'll certainly have to as part of my goals.
Yeah. Well, as part of your goals, yes. But
yeah, we could certainly do a presentation about it as well.
Yeah, and perhaps, you never know, something could come up that could be helpful to us as a committee. But that sounds great. I appreciate that. I know that it takes time away from your day-to-days, but I also think it's important to see things through a different lens and hear other people's perspectives and be open. So thank you both for committing to make that time to go do that. I think it will serve our district well.
The funny thing on that was Christine actually called me and said, I saw this course that I want to take, the Soul of Leadership. And I think I said something along the lines of, I just signed up, I'm in. And then I will say that the course is actually, right now the design, the focus is more principals than superintendents.
Okay.
But I had a discussion with them, and they actually want to use me as the pilot for the superintendents group, because they actually want to launch this for superintendents next year.
Nice.
And I think they're at the MASC conference. They have
Okay.
they have a session. The Seoul leadership has a session about how they're going to build that out for the superintendents group.
Well, that's wonderful. But I'm glad to hear that. I haven't studied this in
Yeah,
in really
I don't
in-depth
know
yet.
what day it is on, but
But
they're doing a session.
that's
The
great.
people who facilitate that group are going to facilitate a presentation at MASC to encourage school committees and superintendents to participate.
That's great. Thank you both.
Awesome.
I appreciate that. Yeah, and I think district improvement goal for the educational blueprint and updating that, I think, is great, because I think we may very well find that some things have shifted, as you've mentioned. So that certainly is worthy of review. And then the student learning goal, I did review the MCAS results, not just our districts, but across the state last week. So I can definitely see where your goals are aligning with where we need to focus on, so that our students perform stronger. Does anyone have any comments or questions or anything they'd like to add? No? Okay, so if someone would like to make a motion to accept,
I move to approve the superintendent's goals as presented this evening.
I second.
excellent. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much, Scott.
Thank you.
I appreciate all the work that went into that, and we look forward to hearing more about it along the way. And that brings us to the first reading of policy ACA, non-discrimination and harassment based upon sex.
Just going to make this a little larger. So over the summer, the Office of Civil Rights updated its guidance on the implementation of Title IX. I reached out to the school district attorneys to see if we needed to update any of our policies based upon these changes. It was suggested that we revise policy ACA, non-discrimination and harassment based upon sex. So this policy revision has been written by the school district's attorneys to bring us into alignment with the new regulations around Title IX. The policy subcommittee met last Monday and approved the suggested changes. This is the first reading of the policy, and no action is required tonight. We would bring it back. Basically, this policy has a little bit more meat to it. If you compared it to the previous policy, it's just, there's just more information here, more description. And then very specifically, this bottom section is kind of really the key, is they've actually changed the term from sexual harassment. So the guidance by the Office of Civil Rights is that sexual harassment is no longer the appropriate term. That should be harassment based upon sex. And it defines it, and that was not in the old policy. So sex-based harassment is a form of sexual discrimination and means sexual harassment and other harassment on the basis of sex, including on the basis of sex stereotypes, sex characteristics, pregnancy or related conditions, sexual orientation, and gender identity. And then it gives some definitions of what it could look like in terms of quid pro quo, creating a hostile environment, and then specific offenses like a sexual assault, dating violence, domestic violence, or stalking, as defined by federal law, would all fall under the categories of sex-based harassment. And then it specifically adds its contact information, a real thought process on the policy should be making very clear for any member of the district, whether it be a student, a teacher, a staff member, that they feel as if there's any harassment based upon sex that's occurring within the school district, that they know who to contact. So they have all the contact information for the Office of Civil Rights, the Massachusetts Commission Against Discrimination, the Equal Employment Opportunities Commission. Then also the other thing is that the policy does clearly define who our Title IX coordinator is. And this is an interesting question for us right now. And I've gone back, I've talked to the attorneys about this, and that is their recommendation, is they actually list the person who is the Title IX coordinator. The reality part about the tough part about that as a policy, that we talked about a policy subcommittee, is that person can change. So do you have to change that person every year? And currently, the Title IX director is Melissa Leary, the director of special education, who is on leave, right? So right now, the Title IX director is me, the superintendent of schools. So even adopting this policy will be a little out of date. Though hopefully, the plan is Melissa's going to come back in December, and so then it would be accurate. So I am going to pose that question back to whether we could just have that be a position versus a person in the policy, just because obviously anytime that person changes, then the policy would have to be updated and revised.
Right.
But my initial discussions with the attorneys on that issue was that they just wanted to be very clear to anybody in the community that they know who to go to. And that listing a person is appropriate to know who is the person in the position that they're going to if they're concerned. And ultimately, you can report sex-based harassment to anybody, and the district is on notice under the guidelines. In essence, once any member of the staff knows, then the district knows. And so part of our training for staff is if someone comes to you and says, I believe I'm being sexually harassed or there's sex-based harassment, they have a responsibility to notify their building administrator, the Title IX coordinator, the director of special education, myself, because we're on notice once anybody in the district is aware of anything to make sure that those reporting requirements are taking place. So I think the only question that was left open by the policy subcommittee was whether we were going to leave the name of the director of special education, or if we were just going to put it as a title. And I can definitely have clarification on that for when we bring this back as a second reading at our next meeting.
Okay, great.
Can't you just say Melissa Leary or the special, serving special ed director? Like, can't you be specific like that?
Our old policy actually said, I think it said that I can pull it up.
It said the name of the person.
It did before.
I think so, yeah.
I'm going to check.
I'm pretty sure.
Because then you'll have both the name of the person and the position.
Well, that was the question.
So the old policy said the committee will designate an individual to act as the school district's Title IX compliance officer.
Yep.
So this was just saying that the school committee would regularly have someone identified, but it didn't state it in the policy. So obviously that's a little more generic than having the specific person's name. I certainly believe you could just leave it as the director of special education. Generally in the district, that's who it's been. Certainly that is a choice of the school committee. It is a choice of the superintendent. It does not, your Title IX coordinator does not have to be the director of special education. That's what it is in most districts. There is, for Title IX concerns, there is an appeals process. So the general recommendation is that the superintendent not be the director of the Title IX coordinator, because the superintendent would be the appeals person. If you remove that layer, if I became the Title IX coordinator, then appeals would go to the school committee. So right now, if there was a situation where I am acting as the Title IX coordinator while Melissa is out, if there was an appeals process, that appeals process would go to the school committee, and so it takes out that layer. So that's why it's generally the director of special education. And I'll just get clarification of, I think we might be okay just saying director of special education and not saying the person's name.
Perfect.
Because certainly people can find out who the director of special education, that's labeled in a lot of places in terms of and then in terms of revising the policy, you don't have to change it any time the person changes. Any other questions about this policy? And like I said, no action required tonight, and I'll get clarification on the title.
Okay, anyone?
Nope.
Okay.
All good.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you. So that brings us to reports from the school committee and the school committee goals. We all met last week to establish goals for the 2024-2025 school year for the school committee. Things that we would like to see improved and worked on during this current school year. And beyond, I'm sure, in many circumstances. So we would just need to make a motion to approve those, and then I'm sure they'll be posted on our website in case anyone in the community is interested in seeing what we're focusing on in addition to everything else that comes our way.
Okay. I move to approve the school committee goals as presented this evening.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion, or does anyone have anything to add or anything they'd like to change or amend at this point? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, great. So that brings us to,
That's it?
that's the end of our meeting. Does anyone have anything they would like to share?
No.
Nope. It's getting dark out there, so I just ask people to please be mindful of the school buses and kids out there waiting as we shift into fall. And someone would need to make, is there a motion written on here?
Yeah, for executive.
Okay, sorry, does anyone have anything else they would like to add? Okay, thank you, everyone. If someone would like to make that motion for us to begin executive session, that would be great.
I move that we adjourn the open session of the school committee meeting on, God, what is today? 9:30, the 30th of September, 2024, and move into executive session for the purpose of reviewing and determining release of executive session minutes,
Not to return.
Not to return.
and not to return to open session.
I second.
Excellent, we have a motion and a second.
Roll call
We will
vote.
roll call this vote.
Jackie Lake Eye.
Kelly Nemi, aye.
Stephanie Clarity, aye.
Katie Sullivan, aye.
Bill Cullum, aye.
Excellent, we are adjourned with the open session at 6:51 PM. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
See you next time.